Hello, dear friends. There are two states in which a living being can live in this world: sovereign or slave. The choice is yours alone. Opinion piece. The ugly duckling is handsome. Not ugly, but different. Find out it's a swan. Symbol of hidden beauty. The swan is transformation. The black swan is the unexpected. The swan's song is the end of the system. Let's start. Once upon a time, there was an ugly duckling who spent his whole life trying to look like everyone else, but it never worked, because he was uncomfortable trying to look like what he wasn't, and others wouldn't accept him because he wasn't like them. Until one day the ugly duckling discovered who he was, and so he was not ugly. That increased his self-esteem and his desire to be himself, without trying to look like anyone else. From then on, he realized that by being himself, he was much happier and much more useful to others, so he gained respect. That is the story of my life. The Ugly Duckling is a famous children's story created by the Danish writer Hans Christian Andersen in 1843. The story has been adapted into various media, including opera, musicals, and animated films. The story is about a duckling who is discriminated against because of his physical appearance, as he is different from other ducks. The duckling is ridiculed and rejected because of his appearance, which leads him to run away and live in solitude, causing him great sorrow. Plot. After the eggs of a mother duck hatch, one of the ducklings is perceived by the other animals as an ugly little creature and suffers much verbal and physical abuse. He wanders away from the pen and lives with the wild ducks and geese until hunters kill the flocks. He finds a home with an old woman, but his cat and hen tease and taunt him mercilessly, and once again he goes off alone. The duckling sees a flock of wild swans migrating. He is delighted and excited, but cannot join them because he is too young, ugly, and unable to fly. When winter comes, a farmer finds him and takes the frozen duckling home, but he is frightened by the farmer's noisy children and runs away from home. The duckling spends a miserable winter alone outdoors, hiding in a cave in the partially frozen lake. When the duckling is fully grown and matured, he can no longer endure a life of loneliness and hardship. He decides to pounce on a flock of swans, feeling that it is better to be killed by such beautiful birds than to live a life of ugliness. He is surprised when the swans welcome and accept him, only to realize, as he looks at his reflection in the water, that he was not being a duckling, but a swan. All this time, the flock takes to the air and he spreads his wings to take flight with the rest of his new family. Excuse me. As time goes by, the duckling discovers that he is not ordinary duck, but he is a swan, one of the most beautiful birds in the world. The moral of the story is that we shouldn't judge others by their appearance, and that we all have our own value and inner beauty. Therefore, the ugly duckling is a symbol of the hidden beauty that can lie behind something that at first glance appears ugly or unpleasant. It is also used to refer to people who have been underestimated or discriminated against because of their physical appearance, but who have great potential and inner value. Excuse me again. The swan. The swan is an animal that is associated with grace, elegance, love, fidelity, transformation, purity, and spirituality. The swan is considered one of the most elegant and beautiful animals in the animal world. Its upright posture, long neck, and graceful movements have inspired many to regard it as a symbol of grace and elegance. The swan is associated with love, passion, and fidelity. In Greek mythology, the swan was the sacred bird of the goddess of love, Aphrodite. Zeus, king of the gods, transformed himself into a swan to seduce Leda, the wife of King Tyndar of Sparta, and from this union Helen of Troy was born. In some cultures, the swan is associated with transformation and transition. This is because swans go through different stages of life, starting as an egg, then as a small white swan, and finally as an adult swan with distinctive feathers and colors. This metamorphosis has been used as a metaphor to represent transformation and personal growth. Because of this white plumage and elegant appearance, the swan has been associated with purity and spirituality in many cultures. In some religions, the swan is considered a symbol of divinity and perfection. Black Swan. The black swan is a symbol of rare and unpredictable events that have a great impact and is used to describe the importance of being prepared for these events. This idea originated in the 18th century, when it was thought that all swans were white, until black swans were found in Australia. The writer Nassim Nicholas Taleb popularized the concept of the black swan in his book of the same name, The Black Swan, in which he argues that rare and unpredictable events can have a disproportionate impact on the world and society, and that it is important to be prepared for them. In popular culture, the term black swan is also sometimes used to describe people or things that are considered unusual, exceptional, or out of the ordinary. The swan song. The swan song is an expression that refers to the last word, speech or performance of an entity that is nearing the end of its life or career, and is used to symbolize its imminent departure from this world, and this now applies to the global financial system. The expression derives from the belief that swans, before they die, emit a melodious and beautiful song that symbolizes their departure from this world. The expression swan song is commonly used in the artistic and literary field, where it refers to the last work or creation of an artist or writer. It is also used in politics and business to refer to the last speech or project of a person who is retiring or about to fail. Reset news. The Storm Rider states that the QFS has completed its year of testing and is operating in a stable mode. He adds that the White Hats are coordinating protests in France and that there will be others in Spain, Germany, Holland and Poland that will peak in June. An economic hangover is coming. There is no stopping the unavoidable downturn that is coming. It's going to be historic. I hope everyone is prepared, says Mark Sira. Concern about banking stability goes behind closed doors at IMF and World Bank meetings. Operation Sandman would be a collaboration of more than 100 countries in an agreement to simultaneously sell their treasury holdings. De-dollarization is happening at a taking pace according to Stephen Jim. The dollar is losing its reserve status at a faster than accepted rate, as analysts failed to take into account last year's sharp exchange rate movements. Consumers are falling behind on their debt repayments as the economy wakens. The largest banks wrote off $3.4 billion in bad loans. Falling house prices force retirees back to work. Ramadan will end on 22nd April. Tunisia rejects IMF loans and wants to join the BRICS. Russia will do everything possible to make the Venezuelan economy independent of the US. Iran and Venezuela sign a 20-year cooperation plan. Iran is one of the few countries where reserves of rare earths and precious metals are available. The discovery of the first lithium deposit in Hamadan province promises a deposit of other precious metals in this area. Japan's insurers plan to sell foreign debt. It is advisable to keep an eye on economic indicators and financial news to gain a better understanding of the current state of the economy and make informed decisions. Endgame. According to Goldilocks, we are in the endgame. Watch the dollar and gold rise together. The reason for this is the demand for the dollar as a safe haven due to rising interest rates and the demand for gold by central banks. Usually, one is up and the other is down to support each other in normal market conditions. But we are no longer in normal market conditions. We are in transition. Both are needed right now, but one will gain more traction than the other to deflate an inflated economy. We could see this change at the end of the week, moving into next week. This is the purpose of gold as money, and will provide a bridge to our new asset-based economy. The dollar will find its place in this new economy amongst other currencies that will also find their real value. Fireworks. Destroyed archive room of the Spanish Ministry of Health. A coincidence has conveniently set fire to the archive room of documents of the Ministry of Health, where records relating to the policies of mass confinement of the population, which were being investigated, were collected and declared illegal by the Constitutional Court. This confinement was declared illegal. This is a repetition. As the war in Ukraine ends, the fireworks are set for Asia, according to Benjamin Fulford. In his view, the Ukrainian war is over and the next targets are South Korea, Taiwan and Japan. Independent analysts such as Colonel Douglas MacGregor agree that is why Macron's visit to China would be to negotiate a truce. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban believes that, in quotes, that the UK is a non-existent country in financial terms, as it cannot finance itself. It is game over, Fulford believes, as France is blocking all additional EU funds for Ukraine. Polish new reports confirm this cut. Furthermore, he predicts that NATO will fall apart in a year, 2 years at most, because Germany and France agreed on a new security framework that will include Russia. The Shivalach volcano in the Russian Far East of the Kamchatka Peninsula erupted for the first time in 60 years, spewing a column of ash up to 20 kilometers high into the atmosphere and closing flight paths in the northern hemisphere. Reflections. According to Morgan, the biggest problem in society is the lack of personal responsibility. Some people want the government to take care of them, and they are not just ghetto dwellers. Many spoiled rich people would be very dysfunctional in the real world. Freemasonry guardian angle of the EU. There is a talk of a Masonic reconquest. It is a delegation of the Grand Orient of France and Portugal, and the French Federation of the Droit Humain. European Freemasonry can become the guardian angle of the European Union. They have already created a pan-European entity called the International Masonic Assembly. The world is upside down according to Poet Talk. Life seems to be what it is not. The high and mighty become low and oppressed. Beautiful people become ugly. Living leaves its mark. Wealth becomes a constant burden. Beauty fades. The body begins to ache from the abuse it has received. Power leads to powerful enemies. Fame becomes a public disgrace. As ye sow, so ye reap. This is the inviolable law of karma. Then why not to do good with every thought, word, and deed? It is a mystery to those who hide the truth from themselves by self-deception. How can you tell people to open their eyes when truth is all around them? The fearful fear the cost of facing life with open eyes. But what do you get otherwise? You are walking blind. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.